He kind of gets it. He always got it. He had a natural aptitude for it. Now, I don't mean to say that you have to be capable of winning a Nobel Prize to show talent. Most of us, all of us, I believe, are drawn to certain sorts of activities. Some of us are encouraged, and some of us are discouraged. One of the people I interviewed for the book is an amazing guy called Bart Conner. Bart Conner is from America. When he was 6, he found that he could walk on his hands as easily as he could walk on his feet. I don't know how he found this out, but he did. He could just turn over and walk around on his hands. When a little bit later, he found he could also walk up and down stairs like this on his hands. Well, he didn't think this was very important. You know, it wasn't obvious what he was going to do with this. But his mother was very interested. And a little bit later, when he was 8, she took him to a gymnastics center in his hometown in Illinois. And he told me that when he went into the gymnastics center, it was like a combination of Disneyland and Santa's grotto. He said he had never seen anything so wonderful. You know, there were ropes and wall bars and trampolines, vaulting horses. He said it was totally intoxicating. Now, you see, this is another important difference. When I go into a gymnasium, I don't feel this. You know? I do not think it's intoxicating. I want to get intoxicated if I go into a gymnasium. I need a drink. But he loved it. And he started going every day. 10 years later, he walked onto the floor at the Olympics in Montreal, representing the United States in the male gymnastics team. He became the most decorated gymnast, male gymnast in American history. He now lives in Oklahoma. He's married to Nadia Comaneci, you'll recall, who was the first perfect 10. They have an extraordinary gymnastics school in Oklahoma, in Norman, Oklahoma. And he and Nadia are leading figures in the World Special Olympics movement. So between them, they have helped to encourage and to liberate the athletic talents of thousands of people with other sorts of disability. Now, Bart Conner's story and Terence Tao's story and lots of others who are in the book illustrate a couple of profound things, I believe. The first is that talent is about discovering natural aptitudes, things that you are naturally drawn to and good at. And we all have natural aptitudes. In the book, I've identified some people who've shown particular achievements in their fields. But the second point it illustrates is this, that all of the people in the book eventually found themselves in circumstances where these aptitudes or talents were actively encouraged. You see, Bart Conner's mother encouraged him. Somebody else might have said, Bart, stop walking on your hands. You know? Get on with your homework and stop the nonsense. But there's something else it illustrates, which is this. There is an important principle about the conditions under which talent will flourish. And to me it's this. Most of our public institutions, most of our thinking about these issues are located within an old ideology. It's an ideology of linearity, of a kind of industrial model of how we develop things. And it's a model that doesn't work anymore. When I spoke recently at a conference in California, one of the other speakers there was Al Gore, and he gave the speech that became the movie, that became the movement, Inconvenient Truth. Have you seen this movie? Well, you know, it's about the crisis in the world's natural resources. This was a theme in some of our opening speeches. It seems to me, beyond dispute, that we have a crisis in the world's natural climate. This isn't a party political point. Scientists agree, archaeologists agree, geologists agree. Anybody who thinks about these issues agrees that we have created a problem which we have yet to solve, we have yet to know if we can solve it, in the world's natural environment. And the problem has its roots in the growth of the industrial economy. During the period of industrialism, we have taken from the world some aspects of its natural resources, used them ruthlessly to create these extraordinary systems that we now live within. But along the way, we've endangered the balance of the Earth's resources and of the climate. Now, this seems to me to be incontrovertible. But I think there is a second climate crisis. Now, it may be that one is enough for you, you know. You may say, look, I'm good, really. I have one crisis, I'm happy. But I think there is a second one, which is a crisis not of natural resources, though I believe that one, but of human resources. I believe in the same way and for the same reasons we have made poor use of our natural human talents, to the point where many people think they don't have them. And one of the reasons is this, that human resources, our natural talents, like the resources of the earth, are not always on the surface. They are buried deep. And we have to look for them. We have to unearth them. We have to create the conditions under which they will show themselves and flourish. And to do that, we have to think differently about the circumstance under which that will happen. And that means, I think, challenging some of the things we take for granted about ourselves, about how our institutions work, and especially about education. And I hope this conference will be a beginning of the process in Europe of challenging things that we think are obvious. The big problem for progress is common sense. It's the things we think are obvious that are the problem. Let me give you an example of this. One of the difficulties in challenging what you take for granted is that you don't know what it is. You know, we don't know what we take for granted because we take it for granted. So let me ask you something that you may take for granted. Firstly, how many of you here are over the age of 25? Come on. I thought so. Let's be honest. Don't you feel better already? Put your hands up, would you, if you're wearing a wristwatch. Put your hands up if you're wearing a wristwatch. Okay. That's a lot of us, isn't it? That's all of us, actually. Now, did you think about that this morning? Was that a big decision? You know, did you agonize about, shall I put my watch on today? You know, did you walk up and down with a cup of coffee thinking, oh, I don't know. Maybe. I'll decide after breakfast. It's too big for me. It's too complicated to think about right now, you know. Maybe somebody asked me the time. Maybe I'll put it on, you know. You didn't, did you? You just put it on. You woke up. I don't suppose you even remember doing it. You probably didn't even think about it. You just wake up and put it on. Because you take it for granted that you need to wear a watch. And the reason is that people over 25, and particularly people of my generation, the boomers, we grew up where the only way you could tell the time was to wear a watch. Ask a room full of teenagers the same question. A room full of people of 20 or younger. And you'll find that teenagers do not wear wristwatches. I don't mean they never wear them.